And as much as they would like us to put them in our jails, and they were probably sent here for us to put them into our jails, they didn't pay their electric bill. And our jails, that's so much better. Don't you guys think that was so much better? Those lights were just brutal. Were they coming from the dishonest press? They probably were, We don't pay their electric bill, and now we don't have to pay all the rent because we didn't pay our electric bill. Don't you guys like that much better with the lights off? No, turn them off. Come on. We don't want them on. Turn them off. Let's go. Turn them off. Turn them off. Turn them off. See, that's so much better. And that's the way we have to negotiate for our country. Think about it. That's how we negotiate for our country and what we want. President Donald Trump is undeniably unlike any president we have ever had before. This man speaks his mind and has little to no filter, which some view as refreshing and others as unprofessional. This president has become known for not only confronting issues via Twitter, but for transforming a large portion of the United States in one way or another. Donald Trump is the perfect example for transformational leadership because we see every day more ways in which he is transforming the public into something that he wishes to see. It may sound very stereotypical or maybe even a little bit racist, but coming from a small town where the biggest employment source is farming, I cannot tell you how many white males I have seen sporting a red "Make America Great Again" ball cap. The views of small town life and conservatism that Trump preaches has caused some typically non-political people to join in on the conversation and say, yeah, I agree with that. Now, this can be taken as a good or a bad thing, but the reality is Trump has rallied people together ever since he became president back in 2016. One way that Trump transforms people is at events in which he speaks. We saw this first when he was running against Hillary Clinton, as he would often raise his voice and spew inappropriate language at her in response to her questions or even the commentator questions. We see it even now more when he speaks to large crowds, often getting them very fired up and rowdy when speaking on sensitive subjects such as immigration laws, abortion, or gender rights. Trump rallies are known to attract very stubborn people who are typically referred to as rude or ignorant in the way that they wish to choose to speak to people. Trump often encourages this type of behavior, making for a very different type of political following that concerns many people. A more innocent way that Trump has demonstrated his ability to rally people was at the Atlanta rally, where the lights had gone out mid-speech. Like in our skit, Trump made a comment on how he liked the low lighting and that the lights went out because the event holders didn't pay their electrical bill. He also commented that the brutally bright lights were possibly coming from the dishonest press. He then led the crowd into chanting, "Turn off the lights," getting nearly everyone in attendance to join in. This is a very minimal example of how Trump can easily get his crowd to follow orders almost mindlessly, and why he is a good example of being a transformational leader.
The trait approach focuses on the certain traits that play a role in effective leadership, which are self-confidence, determination, sociability, integrity, and intelligence. I'm going to discuss how our president, Donald Trump, possesses 3 out of 5 of these traits. Trump exhibits self-confidence, and some believe he won the 2016 election because of it. If you work hard, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in America, then you can dream anything. You can be anything, and together we can achieve absolutely anything. Trump stated this at his first State of the Union address. This shows his self-belief and confidence in himself. It also shows his ability to make others feel extraordinary, and this all brought his success in 2016. Trump is also determined, and has shown it throughout the years. Here's a clip of Sarah Sanders, the spokesperson for the White House, sharing why Trump was elected.
The president was elected because of his ambitious agenda and his desire to get a lot of things done. We're going to focus on that.
Trump had major goals for 2018, including changes in welfare, such as house benefits, food stamps, and Medicaid, and adjusting the ways of immigration. He presents a drive for success and wants to get the job done. This is what determination is all about. Lastly, Trump holds the trait of sociability. He makes the effort to establish social relationships. Trump presented this trait during a rally in South Dakota.
Somebody that's been very helpful to me all the way along the line and been really great, and running with Christie. They run as a team, and that's Larry Roden. Larry? Thank you. Where's Larry? Thank you, Larry. Great job. That's a good team. I would say maybe it could even be a great team, Larry. So really good. We appreciate it very much.
This is what he focused on in the beginning of the rally. He spent time speaking highly of the South Dakota representatives. Later in the video, he states, "You have some great folks in South Dakota, and I wanted to come here and just pay my respects. These efforts to create strong relationships show his strong social abilities. Self-confidence, determination, and sociability are all very important traits in the trait approach and for effective leadership.
Hi everyone, my name is Tajane, and I am here to tell you why I feel like Donald Trump is not an adaptive leader. An adaptive leader encourages their followers to face and deal with problems, challenges, and change. They help prepare for change on multiple levels such as self, organizational, community, and societal. And there are tons of clips out there about Donald Trump showing that he is not a good leader. Like, in the next clip that I'm going to show you that he blamed the immigration system for the bombing in New York, but it was an American who set the bomb off. He claims
that, quote, a bomb, unquote, had gone off in New York City, who claimed our, quote, extremely open immigration system was responsible for the bombing, even though the suspect arrested was an American citizen with no known connection to international terrorism.
He claims to take away Obamacare, to replace it with better plans. Still has not done that.
Moderator who claimed that he will replace Obamacare with, quote, many different plans you don't even know about, health care plans that will be so good. Who claimed that
he said that there's nothing wrong with having violence at his rallies because it adds excitement to his campaign.
The Republican Party has actually nominated for president a man who was revealed to have told Maureen Dowd that there was nothing wrong with violence at his rallies, that it added excitement. Whose campaign?
As a leader, you are there to encourage your followers to do better, you're not there to encourage violence.
What's happening in Puerto Rico with Hurricane Maria right now? And here's what President Trump is doing right now while Puerto Rico is calling out for his help.
Trump owns some of the world's top golf courses, so the suggestion that he's a cheat really irks him.
In this script, we showed an example of servant leader. Servant leaders should be attentive to the needs of their followers, empower them, and help them follow their human capacities. Servant leaders choose to serve first. Donald Trump is not always a servant leader. An example of this would be during Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. He was out golfing in New Jersey. Puerto Rico started struggling and reaching out for help for food and water. Donald Trump and his top aides didn't even acknowledge Puerto Rico's call for help. Trump continued his trip to New Jersey for golf and went to Alabama for a rally. His cabinet had a meeting while in New Jersey but discussed nothing about the crisis happening in Puerto Rico. A good servant leader would have served first. They would have acknowledged Puerto Rico's call for help. They would have sent someone to help if they couldn't have made it. A servant leader is always giving back to the community. Puerto Rico could have used Donald Trump during the hurricane. Trump has been a good servant leader in the past, but during this crisis, he was not a good servant leader.
Record. Now, every president will say to you when he's running, I'm gonna make Jerusalem the home. Huh? Really? The home of the embassy? Really? Are you? Because everybody says that and nobody does it. He did it. And I think that's going to go down as the biggest game changer possibly in my lifetime. It already is. It is changing the game in Iran. And there are riots in the streets now in Iran. Streets in Iran, in some towns, it looks like a war zone because the people have risen up. And that's going to continue to build. And when it does, this president is going to come out and say something directly to those people that we support them. And that's going to add fuel to the fire. And you might see a regime change and a collapse of the Islamic regime in Iran. And it will be 100% Donald Trump that made that responsible. 100%. You're going to see changes because of this. He kept that promise. A promise I said, he's not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. He did. How about the presidents coming up and saying, well, I know I can defeat ISIS. I know I can do it. I'll defeat ISIS. He did. And did you notice no one in the press even talked about it? All of a sudden, we're not talking about ISIS anymore. How come? Oh, I know. President Trump. That's why. How many people? Well, we're not going to be involved in these global agreements for global warming. Right, sure. I'm on record saying he will never do that because his daughter is a huge global warming person and he only listens to the family. Wrong, Glenn. Who else is doing that? Just that is enormous. Going to stop the TPP. Right, sure you are. Yes, he did. I'm going to bring North Korea to the table. Gee, looks like that's happening. Give everybody a tax cut. I don't like the tax cut. I think he could have gone a lot further, but that's not even his job. His job is to sign things that Congress puts in front of him, not to design it. How many times did he ask? And you know what? You Republicans in Congress disgust me. You disgust me. Imagine what we could do if we had the House and the Senate and the White House. Yeah, I can imagine what you'll do. Nothing. You'll do nothing. Was it 1948, that it was a do-nothing Congress? No, I think we've got one now. Can anybody name one thing that they've done? Tax cuts. Oh, whoa, well, don't put yourself out. The repeal of Obamacare. Yep, didn't get that one done. Is that really his fault? Well, you could say, he didn't use the bully pulpit. No. Again, Congress. He would have signed anything. As long as it fulfilled that promise, he didn't care what it looked like. He would have signed anything, and you got nothing done. His campaign promise, I'm going to have a 10% repatriation tax. Now, I think this one is dangerous. He did it. 10%. Bring all of your money back into the United States. It will create jobs. Yes, it will also create inflation, but it's creating jobs. Does anybody feel like America is beginning to get on track somewhat economically? You know why? Because he fulfilled another promise. Stop overregulating the American people. Give them their money. Give the companies the opportunity to expand and bring their money back into the country. And maybe they'll build buildings. Maybe they'll build offices. Maybe they'll build new products. Maybe they'll build new factories. Maybe they'll hire a bunch of people. Now, I know Seattle is trying to do everything they can to make sure that everybody in their city is homeless and unemployed. But the rest of the country is enjoying the feeling of, wow, maybe things are going to be okay. The executive orders? Yeah, he's reversed a lot of Obama's executive orders. I don't know of a president that is, because I'm really used to read my lips, no new. These are outrageous promises. These are outrageous promises. This isn't, I'm just going to stand up against the Democrats and not raise taxes. These things are, I'm going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. I'm going to kill and dismantle the enemy that the president before me arguably created and couldn't defeat. I'm going to defeat them. I've got maybe 10 minutes. I think we can get that done in the first term. And they did. Not a small feat. I'm going to cancel the Iran deal. Yep. These are small. I'm going to bring North Korea to the table. Oh, yeah. Everybody's tried to do that. Now they're at the table. We don't know what's going to happen. So the result of that is unknown. But has anybody else done that?
Hey guys, I'm Stella Stark, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the path goal theory. So as you guys saw in the video, of course, Donald Trump is...
You know, it's amazing. I mentioned food stamps, and that guy who's seriously overweight went crazy. He went crazy. Amazing.
Him calling me fat, I don't give a f. I do not give a single solitary f what he thinks or says, inasmuch as I can use it to learn about the people he's attracting. I actually got inside early. While I was waiting for it to start, I listened to these like 4 guys in the row behind me. This one guy in particular was saying, he kept referring to this one Indian teenager further down the row as ISIS, and the kid was hearing him say these awful racial slurs. The teenager snaps and says, "Hey, f you," and then the idiot sicks the cops on this Indian teenager, and they take him aside and intimidate him. Some of the things the dudes behind me said, kill all Muslims, I wish I had my piece on me, dude, I want to shoot someone so bad. And the thing Trump's really good at is getting otherwise rational people to clamp down harder on their fears and prejudices. These people aren't monsters. They're completely normal, but for whatever reason, they let their fears drive them, and that turns them into weapons.
What's going on, y'all? So obviously that video was pretty tough. The situation was out of hand and very disheartening to see what had happened to that fellow who attended the rally. So Donald Trump has appealed to a very designated group of people who tend to dislike and don't favor those who are of a minority, people who are homosexual or relate with the LGBTQ community, and also disabled people as well. His platform has been very fear-based and rallying up a collective who are white and are afraid to lose their privilege in America. There have been a record number of people who have been fired from his administration, and as a situational leader, he has failed those working under him when it comes to being directive, coaching, and supporting, and even delegating tasks as a whole. Situational leadership refers to a leader or a manager of a business corporation who adjusts his style to fit the growth level of his followers or those he or she is trying to influence. Trump has done the opposite. When people in his administration challenge him on his stance on certain political views or ideals that he may have and speak out against them, he results in firing them to save his self-image. For example, Omarosa is one of the prominent people recently who have been let go from his administration, as well as Jeff Sessions. Ultimately, he has been a very distinct president in the way that he governs and his political stances. Nonetheless, as a situational leader, you can argue he hasn't adjusted to the typical style of a president, but rather a dictator in the way that he condemns the press, attacks past officials, and engages in unorthodox foreign relations. Hope you learned something.